reunion that exposed a decade-old secret? What if I told you the most important player in Cleveland Cavaliers history was invited to the biggest reunion of his career and never answered? Not declined, not unavailable, not busy. According to J.R. Smith, Kyrie Irving simply never responded. And just like that, a story many fans thought was buried years ago suddenly exploded back into the spotlight. This week, the core members of the legendary 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers gathered in Scotland to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the championship that changed everything. LeBron James was there, Kevin Love was there, Tristan Thompson showed up, J.R. Smith, Richard Jefferson, Channing Frye. Everyone seemed ready to relive the greatest moment in franchise history. Everyone except Kyrie Irving. The same Kyrie Irving who hit arguably the biggest shot in Cavaliers history. The same Kyrie Irving whose three-pointer over Stephen Curry became one of the most iconic moments the NBA has ever seen. The same Kyrie Irving who helped complete the impossible comeback from a 3-1 deficit against the 7-3 win Golden State Warrior. Yet when photos from Scotland began flooding social media, fans immediately noticed something strange. One face was missing. At first, many assumed there was a scheduling conflict. Maybe Kyrie was recovering from injury, maybe he had family commitments, maybe he simply couldn't travel. Then J.R. Smith stepped into the comment section and changed the entire conversation. A fan asked why Kyrie wasn't there. J.R.'s response was short, direct, and impossible to ignore. He was invited and ghosted us all. Just like that. A simple reunion became one of the biggest NBA stories of the week, because this wasn't just a former teammate missing a golf trip. This was the man whose name is forever attached to Cleveland's only NBA championship. Think about that for a second. Every June, Cavaliers fans replay the same memory. LeBron's chase down block, Kevin Love's defensive stand, and Kyrie's game-winning three. Those moments are connected forever. They're basketball history. They're supposed to represent brotherhood. So how did we get from celebrating together on the biggest stage in sports to one of the most important players from that team not even responding to an invitation? Was this simply bad timing, or is there a much deeper story hiding beneath the surface? Because as we started digging into what happened, something became clear. This story isn't really about Scotland. It isn't even about golf. It's about old wounds, old misunderstandings, and a relationship that may have never fully healed after all these years. What J.R. Smith revealed this week may have opened the door to a much bigger question that Cavaliers fans have been asking for nearly a decade. Did Kyrie Irving ever truly leave Cleveland behind? Or has Cleveland never really left Kyrie Irving? Before we uncover the shocking chain of events that led to this moment, let me know where you're watching from today. And if you believe there's more to this story than we're being told, type 1 inch the comments. If you think Kyrie simply moved on and owes nobody an explanation, type 2. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because what happened behind the scenes after the 2016 championship may completely change how you view one of the NBA's most fascinating partnerships, the missing face in Scotland. The Scotland reunion was supposed to feel simple. Old teammates, old memories, 5 days of golf, dinners, laughter, and stories from the most unforgettable run in Cavaliers history. But the internet did not see the golf clubs first. It saw the empty space. When Tristan Thompson shared the photo, it looked like a championship family getting back together. LeBron James, Kevin Love, J.R. Smith, Richard Jefferson, Channing Frye, and other familiar faces from that 2016 Cleveland team were all there, smiling like men who had survived basketball war together. Then fans asked the one question nobody could ignore: where is Kyrie? That question changed everything, because Kyrie Irving was not just another name on that roster. He was not a role player. He was not a background piece. He was the artist of the shot, the man who rose over Stephen Curry in Game 7 and delivered the three-pointer that helped end Cleveland's 2-year championship drought. So when everyone else gathered to celebrate that chapter, his absence did not feel normal. It felt personal. Then J.R. Smith's comment made it impossible to brush aside. He was invited and ghosted us all. Those words hit harder than any official statement could have, because J.R. was not speaking like an analyst. He was speaking like someone who had been there, someone who had shared that locker room, someone who had celebrated in that parade, someone who knew what the invitation meant. And that is why this story became bigger than a missed trip. A normal absence comes with an explanation. A ghosting comes with silence. And silence, in the NBA, often says more than words ever could. For Cavs fans, this reopens something painful. They had spent years trying to protect the beauty of 2016. That championship was supposed to be untouchable, a perfect memory, a forever bond. But this reunion reminded everyone that banners do not always mean relationships stay whole. The trophy stays polished, the highlights stay legendary, but the people inside the story can drift apart. And Kyrie Irving's missing face in Scotland became the loudest part of the picture, the shot that should have bound them forever. To understand why Kyrie's absence feels so heavy, you have to go back to the night that made him untouchable in Cleveland, the 19th of June 2016. Game 7, Oracle Arena. The Cleveland Cavaliers were facing the 7-3 win Golden State Warriors, a team many people had already crowned before the finals even began. The Warriors were fast, confident, and built like the future of basketball. Cleveland was fighting history, pressure, exhaustion, and a 3-1 deficit that no team had ever overcome in the NBA Final. But LeBron James and Kyrie Irving refused to disappear. Game 5 changed the series. Both of them scored 40. The Cavaliers survived. Game 6 pushed the Warriors back. Then came Game 7, tied at 89, with the entire season hanging in the air. That is when Kyrie got the ball. Stephen Curry stood in front of him. The clock was bleeding. The building was shaking. And Kyrie did what only Kyrie could do. A slow dribble, a sudden rise, a clean release, then silence. The shot dropped. Cleveland took the lead for good. LeBron had the chase down block. Kevin Love had the defensive stand. But Kyrie had the shot that froze NBA history in place. That moment should have connected them forever. 3 stars, 3 different personalities, 1 impossible mission completed together. LeBron was the returning king. Love was the misunderstood 3rd star. Kyrie was the fearless closer who never looked afraid of the moment. That is why this reunion stings. Because when a team wins that way, fans believe the bond is permanent. They believe pain turns into loyalty. They believe pressure turns into brotherhood. But basketball does not always work like a movie. Sometimes the same moment that makes legends also hides the cracks forming underneath. And behind the celebration, behind the parade, behind the champagne, something between Kyrie and Cleveland had already started to change. The shadow nobody wanted to talk about, the easy version of the story says Kyrie Irving wanted out because he was tired of playing in LeBron James's shadow. That version is simple. Too simple. The truth appears much more complicated. Kyrie was already a star before LeBron returned to Cleveland. He was the number 1 pick. He had the handle, the confidence, the scoring gift, and the kind of game young fans copied in driveways across America. Then LeBron came home. Overnight, everything changed. The Cavaliers were no longer Kyrie's developing team. They became LeBron's championship mission. Every mistake became national news. Every loss became a crisis. Every decision was connected back to LeBron's timeline. For some players, that kind of spotlight creates greatness. For others, it becomes suffocating. Kyrie helped win the championship, but the public story still leaned heavily toward LeBron. The promise fulfilled. The hometown hero returned. The king brought Cleveland a title. Kyrie's shot was legendary, but LeBron's shadow still covered the entire franchise. That tension did not explode immediately. It built slowly. A comment here, a rumor there. A quiet moment in the locker room, a feeling that maybe Kyrie wanted to prove he could build something that did not require being attached to LeBron forever. And that is the emotional core of this story. Kyrie did not want to erase 2016. He wanted to stop being trapped inside it. But to Cavaliers fans, that is almost impossible to understand. Because for them, 2016 is sacred. It is not a chapter to escape. It is the chapter they waited generations to experience. So when Kyrie steps away from that memory, it feels like rejection. Not just of LeBron, not just of the team, but of Cleveland itself. And once that feeling entered the relationship, every silence became louder. Every missed reunion became symbolic. Every unanswered invitation started to feel like proof. The trade rumor that broke the trust, the real fracture did not begin with Kyrie's trade request. It began with what Kyrie believed happened before it. Around the 2017 offseason, reports began circling that Cleveland had explored major trade possibilities involving Kyrie Irving. Some versions connected him to potential moves that could have brought in stars like Paul George, Chris Paul, or Damian Lillard. Whether every detail was perfect or not, the emotional damage was already done. Kyrie reportedly believed LeBron had influence over those conversations. And in Cleveland, that belief mattered because everyone knew LeBron was not just another player. His voice carried weight, his presence shaped the organization, his timeline pressured every decision. So from Kyrie's perspective, the question may have been simple. If the team was discussing trading me, did LeBron allow it? Even if LeBron never pushed for Kyrie to be moved, Perception can break trust just as quickly as reality. Once Kyrie believed he was replaceable, something changed. The partnership that had produced one of the greatest finals comebacks ever suddenly felt unstable. And then Kyrie made his move. He requested a trade, not quietly, not years later, but right after the Cavaliers had been to 3 straight finals together. To fans, it felt shocking. To people watching closely, it looked like the final result of a relationship that had been cracking for months. When Kyrie was eventually sent to Boston, the Cleveland era ended in a strange way. No perfect goodbye, no peaceful closing scene, no emotional final embrace with the fan base. Just a superstar leaving behind the city where he had become immortal. That kind of ending leaves scars. For LeBron, it reportedly hurt deeply. For Cavs fans, it felt confusing. For Kyrie, it may have felt like freedom. And that is the tragedy. One side saw abandonment, the other side may have seen survival. That is why J.R. Smith's comment hit so hard years later, because it sounded like the same old wound opening again. The public peace that never felt complete. Years after the breakup, it looked like LeBron and Kyrie had repaired the relationship, at least publicly. Kyrie reportedly called LeBron while he was in Boston and apologized for how he handled certain things during their Cleveland years. It was a mature moment. A reflective moment. The kind of moment fans hoped meant the old tension had finally faded. LeBron accepted it. The basketball world moved on, or at least it tried to. Because public peace is not always the same as private closeness. 2 people can respect each other and still not be close. They can share history and still avoid old wounds. They can forgive the past without wanting to relive it. That may be where LeBron and Kyrie truly are. Not enemies. Not brothers in the way fans imagine. Something more complicated. They have praised each other at different points. They have smiled in public. They have been linked in reunion rumors. Every few years, fans imagine them playing together again, whether in Los Angeles, Dallas, or somewhere else under the right circumstances. But the Scotland reunion exposed a different question. If things were truly repaired, why would Kyrie not respond? That is what makes this situation so powerful as a story. It challenges the clean narrative. It forces fans to ask whether the apology closed the wound or simply covered it. For LeBron, 2016 is part of his greatest legacy. It is the promise he made and kept. For Kyrie, 2016 is also greatness, but it may come with emotional weight most fans never see. The pressure, the comparison, the feeling of being celebrated and minimized at the same time. The feeling that his biggest career moment still gets placed inside someone else's story. That is not easy to carry, and maybe that is why this reunion never felt like just a reunion. Maybe for Kyrie, it felt like walking back into a version of himself he spent years trying to outgrow. Brooklyn, backlash, and the complicated LeBron response. The Cleveland tension was not the only chapter that shaped how people view Kyrie Irving. His time in Brooklyn made everything more complicated. Kyrie became one of the most debated players in the NBA. Not just because of basketball, but because of the controversy surrounding him. One of the biggest came when he shared a link to a film that was widely criticized for containing harmful anti-Jewish material. The reaction was immediate. The Nets suspended him. Nike ended its business relationship with him. Media pressure intensified. Fans were divided. Some believed Kyrie had caused real harm. Others believed the punishment became too extreme. Then LeBron was asked about it. His response did not fit neatly into either side. He made it clear that harmful messages toward any community should not be accepted. He said people have responsibility when they use large platforms. But later, he also suggested that once Kyrie apologized, the list of conditions for his return seemed excessive. That middle position may have been reasonable to many people, but emotionally, it may not have felt like full support to Kyrie. And that matters in this story, because when someone already feels misunderstood, half support can feel like distant. When someone already believes old teammates did not fully stand beside him, even a balanced public statement can feel cold. This does not mean LeBron was wrong to speak against harmful content. It also does not mean Kyrie was wrong to feel isolated. 2 things can be true at the same time. That is what makes this relationship so difficult to explain. It is not hero versus villain. It is not loyalty versus betrayal. It is 2 men carrying different memories of the same years. LeBron may see a talented teammate who chose to walk away from something historic. Kyrie may see a chapter where he was never fully understood, never fully protected, and never fully allowed to define himself. So when a reunion invitation appeared years later, maybe Kyrie saw more than golf. Maybe he saw every uncomfortable headline, every old comparison, every question he no longer wanted to answer, and maybe silence felt easier than explaining pain nobody wanted to hear. The Kyrie Irving people forget to mention, the loudest version of Kyrie Irving is the controversial one, the unpredictable one, the superstar who says things people debate for weeks. But there is another version of Kyrie that rarely gets the same attention, the one who shows up quietly, the one who gives money to families in need, the one who supports students, communities, and young athletes without turning every act into a publicity campaign. That version matters here. Because while the Cavaliers reunion was happening, Kyrie was reportedly focused on basketball development and working around young players while recovering from a serious ACL injury. That detail changes the emotional angle. Maybe he was not hiding. Maybe he was not simply being cold. Maybe he was choosing the future over the past. Kyrie is now in a different stage of his life. He is no longer the 4-year-old guard who shocked the basketball world in Oakland. He is older, more experienced, more bruised by public criticism, and more aware of how quickly narratives can trap a person. For years, people have tried to define him. LeBron's sidekick, Boston's failed leader, Brooklyn's controversy, Dallas's risky. But Kyrie has always pushed back against being reduced to one label. That is why his decision not to attend the reunion can be read in two completely different ways. One group of fans sees disrespect. Another sees boundaries. One group sees a player ignoring the men who went to battle with him. Another sees a man refusing to return to a chapter that brought him both glory and pain. The truth may sit somewhere in the middle. Kyrie can be grateful for 2016 and still not want to celebrate it publicly. He can love the game and still dislike the old politics around that team. He can respect LeBron and still not want to stand beside him for a nostalgia photo. That is uncomfortable for fans, because fans want clean endings. But real relationships are rarely clean. Sometimes people do not hate each other. They simply move in different directions, ghosting or finally moving on. So what really happened? Did Kyrie Irving ghost his old teammates? Based on J.R. Smith's words, the invitation was sent and Kyrie did not respond. That part is simple. The reason behind it is not. Because ghosting can mean many things. It can mean anger. It can mean avoidance. It can mean discomfort. It can mean a person does not have the emotional energy to reopen a door they worked hard to close. For Cavaliers fans, the pain is obvious. Kyrie gave Cleveland one of the greatest moments in sports history. His shot over Curry will live forever. His name is carved into the emotional memory of that city. So seeing him absent from the reunion feels wrong. It feels like the movie is missing one of its main characters. But from Kyrie's side, maybe the movie never felt as perfect as fans remember. Maybe the championship came with pressure that never went away. Maybe the partnership with LeBron was brilliant on the floor but difficult behind the scene. Maybe the trade rumors, the public comparisons, the Boston exit, the Brooklyn backlash, and years of being judged finally made him choose peace over nostalgia. That does not erase the disappointment. It does not make J.R. Smith's frustration invalid. If a group of former teammates planned a major reunion and one of the most important players never answered, of course that would hurt. But it also reminds us that championship teams are not always families forever. Sometimes they are groups of people who shared one impossible mission, completed it, and then became different people afterward. The banner stays, the bond changes, the fans remember one version, the players live with another. And maybe that is why this story feels so fascinating. It forces us to separate the highlight from the human being. The shot was perfect, the relationship was not, and now, 10 years later, one missing seat in Scotland has made the NBA world question everything again. What this really teaches us about greatness. The biggest lesson from this story is not that Kyrie Irving missed a reunion. The lesson is that greatness does not always create peace. The 2016 Cavaliers gave basketball one of its greatest stories ever. They beat the odds. They broke a curse. They brought Cleveland a championship after more than 5 decades of waiting. But even inside a perfect sports memory, human relationships can remain messy. LeBron James wanted to deliver a title and protect his legacy. Kyrie Irving wanted to prove he was more than a second name in someone else's story. Kevin Love wanted respect. J.R. Smith wanted the bond to mean something. Cavs fans wanted the fairy tale to stay beautiful forever. But life after the confetti is not always beautiful. Sometimes old teammates grow apart. Sometimes people forgive each other without becoming close again. Sometimes the strongest thing a person can do is move forward, even if others do not understand it. Strategically, this story also shows why NBA partnerships are so fragile. Talent can win games, but trust keeps teams together. Once players begin questioning loyalty, influence, respect, or control, even a championship core can break faster than fans expect. That is what makes the Kyrie and LeBron story so powerful. On the court, they were nearly unstoppable. Their skills fit like two different weapons built for the same war. LeBron controlled the game with power, vision, and pressure. Kyrie attacked with rhythm, creativity, and fearlessness. Together, they solved problems that most teams could not even survive. But chemistry in basketball is not only about passing lanes and shot making. It is about ego. It is about communication. It is about whether two stars can feel equally valued when only one of them is treated as the center of the universe. That may be the part fans forget. A player can win a ring and still feel unseen. A superstar can hit the biggest shot and still wonder if history will remember him as a side character. And when those feelings are never fully addressed, they do not disappear. They wait, they grow quiet, then years later, they show up in small moments, like an unanswered invitation. The human lesson is even deeper. We should not turn every unresolved relationship into a war. Maybe Kyrie could have responded. Maybe the Cavaliers deserve clearer communication. Maybe fans deserve to feel disappointed. But nobody wins by turning old pain into permanent hate. Because at the end of the day, these are not just characters in a highlight reel. They are people who carried pressure, pride, misunderstanding, and expectations that most of us will never truly understand. The 2016 Cavaliers should still be celebrated. LeBron's greatness should still be respected. Kyrie's shot should still be honored. J.R. Smith's honesty should still be understood. And Cleveland's love for that team should never be mocked. If there is one peaceful lesson in all of this, it is that people can share a legendary past without needing to live inside it forever. Sometimes maturity means reconnecting. Sometimes maturity means stepping away without attacking anyone. And sometimes maturity means accepting that a bond can be real in one season of life, then different in another. Some bonds heal, some bonds fade, but the history remains. Cleveland will always have that banner. Kyrie will always have that shot. LeBron will always have that promise fulfilled. And basketball fans will always remember the night they made the impossible real. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Kyrie was wrong for not answering the reunion invitation? Type 1 if you think he should have shown up. Type 2 if you believe he has the right to move on. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video, share it with another NBA fan, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because stories like this prove one thing. In the NBA, the game ends on the court, but the drama never really stops.